What's up, guys? D-Rock1992 here. As I mentioned before in a couple of videos back, I'm gonna review The Hunger Games: Mockingjay Part 1, which I saw in theaters back on Friday. First off, however, I am going to review the first two Hunger Games movies back to back, starting off with the first Hunger Games movie for this video. The Hunger Games, the Hunger Games films in general actually are adapted from their book. It's a book to film adaptation. The Hunger Games were a series of books written by author Suzanne Collins. Now, I never read the books before, so I didn't really have an idea going into watching these movies about what they were like. And I never really wanted to give these movies a lot of opportunity back in the day. I just didn't think these movies were for me, per se. But I was wrong. I was, they're sci-fi, kind of thriller, action somewhat. They're those types of movies. And at first, I didn't really want to give it a chance, but I did, and I'm happy I did, definitely. My friends, when I went with my friends, when I was planning it out with my friends to go see Horrible Bosses 2, one of those friends wanted to see Hunger Games: Mockingjay Part 1 again. He had seen it first time with another friend of his, also a friend that went with us as well. And so he wanted to see it again, and he asked me if I wanted to go see it too, and I'm like, okay, sure. I had an evening, basically, to watch the first two Hunger Games movies, because I had never watched them before. So I started out with the first Hunger Games movie. This is the review, and this is the upcoming review for it. So essentially, this is a kind of an introductory video, for one thing, because this is the first movie of the Hunger Games trilogy. But anyway, there is Jennifer Lawrence is the main character in the movie. She plays Katniss Everdeen, as a lot of people know. The Hunger Games franchise is a very popular franchise, and everybody knows Jennifer Aniston plays Katniss Everdeen. Josh Hutcherson plays Peeta Mellark, who is another person who fights in the Hunger Games along with Katniss Everdeen. More into that after, but Woody Harrelson is in the movie, Elizabeth Banks, Donald Sutherland, and just some of the main characters. Liam Hemsworth is in the movie in a supporting role, definitely. But what this movie's about is that Katniss Everdeen and Peeta Mellark, they both live in District 12. And District 12 is one of 12 districts in the nation of Pan Am, which is ruled by the capital. And the capital is ruled by a man named President Snow. I don't think we know his first... Coriolanus Snow or something like that, if I'm pronouncing the name right. We'll just refer to him in this video as President Snow, played by Donald Sutherland. So anyway, you have the nation of Pan Am, ruled by the capital, and then there's 12 poorer districts that reside underneath the capital's rule. Every year, people between the ages of 12 and 18, one woman and one man, one boy and one girl from each district are chosen at random to fight in the Hunger Games, which is an entire series basically a survival test. It's a test of survival, essentially, and whoever wins, whoever's the last one standing, wins and is given immense wealth and power, and is crowned the victor, and they get a lot of what the Capitol gets, wealth and power. And these Hunger Games are put together every single year by the Capitol so that rebellions do not happen. So that rebellions against the Capitol from the districts don't happen, so that they're discouraged of starting revolts, essentially. Because the Capitol had to quash a rebellion from their own rulers beforehand. Capitol people had to quash a rebellion before. They don't want another rebellion to happen. So they go out and they kill people to... They go out and essentially they conduct... they kill people in order to make sure that that another rebellion does not happen. So in this Hunger Games, I think it's the 75th Hunger Games, Katniss Everdeen volunteers to participate in the Hunger Games representing the 12th District because she doesn't want her little sister to go, because her little sister was initially picked to participate. But Katniss Everdeen volunteers in her place. She is the first person ever... No, actually, she's one of the few people ever who actually volunteered for these games. Because, obviously, not a lot of people volunteered because there's a huge chance that they get annihilated during the Hunger Games. And they don't want to do that. You know, a lot of people value human life. And, but Katniss Everdeen wants to protect her young sister and her family, so she goes ahead and she participates in the Hunger Games. As I mentioned before, Peeta Mellark, played by Josh Hutcherson, he participates as well. He's picked out as well. So they both participate. And they both have to kill each other, essentially, and all the other people in the other districts, in the other 11 districts. So anyway, Katniss Everdeen goes into the Hunger Games ready to try to win. You know, she's ready to try to win at whatever cost to protect her family. And she goes out there and she fights. She, without giving anything away from what the Hunger Games, from what the whole situation, what happened in the Hunger Games itself, she obviously, since there is a sequel to the movie, she wins. She wins the Hunger Games as well as Peeta Mellark through a whole series of events, a lot of challenges, and a lot of trials and tribulations. It's a very good movie. It's very well done. The acting is subdued in the movie, but it's supposed to be subdued because this isn't a comedy or well, it is a drama, but in some ways, but it's not a comedy where you can get away with overacting or anything like that. It's not a comedy like the movies, Horrible Bosses movies, where you can really overact. This is a movie where you have to be really serious. It has some funny moments, the whole series does, but definitely, this movie, has its dramatic moments for sure. As Katniss Everdeen and Peeta Mellark, the two main characters, they have to survive these Hunger Games, and as I mentioned, they do survive the Hunger Games, because obviously we have a couple sequels that I'm going to be reviewing next. So the entire Hunger Games sequence was very well done. As far as acting goes, Jennifer Lawrence was really good as an act. You know, Jennifer Lawrence had a great portrayal of Katniss Everdeen. Josh Hutcherson did a good job as Peeta Mellark. One of my favorite characters, though, is President Snow, played by Donald Sutherland. He plays a good villain, but he's not that stereotypical villain, like, "Mwahaha, I'm going to do evil in this world." He's not that way at all. I mean, you don't even think he's a villain at first. You know, the book, you know, the movie has him. You don't really think of him as a villain at first, but then when you see him in action, you see, oh, this is a sadistic bastard. And he's calm, he's subdued, he's calm, he's methodical, he just plays a great villain in the movie. And he really is my favorite, probably my top character out of all the characters in the Hunger Games trilogy. So overall, Elizabeth Banks is, if you can call it comic relief. Her character, Elfie or Elf Trinket, who is kind of a friend of Katniss Everdeen. She kind of helps her. She represents District 12 and all the Hunger Games and stuff like that. She's kind of a mentor slash stylist, or mentor slash fashion expert, kind of. And if you see Elfie Trinket's character in the movie at all, she's got some pretty out there fashion choices, and she is played by Elizabeth Banks. Woody Harrelson's character does pretty good. He's kind of comic relief as well. He plays an alcoholic in the movie. He plays a former winner of the Hunger Games turned alcoholic. But this movie was just well acted, in the kind of subdued way that a lot of drama movies can get away with. Just subdued type acting, which is what a lot of critics and a lot of people call real acting, and I would agree as well. This was just a very well made movie. I can't see any problems with the movie. I can't think in my head, and I watched it a few days ago. I can't really think of any issues I had with the movie whatsoever. So, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5 stars. A perfect 5 out of 5 stars. It was an engaging movie. It captured my attention throughout. It was just a very well-made movie. And that is it for the Hunger Games review. D-Rock 1992 out.